Hi, Collective. It's Al. I wanted to do an update. I know I've been kind of absent from the channel for a bit. I was in the middle of a transitional period, as you all know. The place I was staying at during my mission in the Project Room Key in Van Nuys closed, so I had to be moved, and I didn't quite know where I was going. And so for the past week, I've been in that transitional period, and I'm not going to lie, it's been kind of hell on earth. And it's just part of the test phase that you go through in initiations and spiritual journeys, and it derailed me, I'll be honest, and it put me in a really negative space for a bit, and I'm trying to work my way through it. But I'm not the type of person who focuses on negativity, and I definitely don't let anything affect my vibration too much. So I was struggling with trying to make everything work out, and just to give you an example, I got here and it was the only place that had Wi-Fi, so I still needed to do my articles, and I was trying to make my life easier instead of harder. And so it had its own room, so it was the last place available like this. And I get here, and they have a 5 p.m. curfew, and there's like all these really strict regulations and stuff like that. It's very oppressive, but it's not like it's done by design that way. It's more like this particular location just works differently from the other locations because there's no universal quality to how they run these things. And so the original mission was to help people that are now, thanks to the virus, in situations where that they fell back behind, and this is trying to get them back on their feet and all that stuff. But with oppressive rules like this, where they're not cohesive between one location and the other, it makes for a very, very strenuous situation that just doesn't need to be there. But anyway, the point is, I got here and I was like, okay, I'll work with it. It's not like I do anything. All of my work I can do from home, essentially. So I was like, all right, I can do this. And so I got to my room, and there were 2 beds, the ones behind me, and for the first 5 days, they were broken. And I was sleeping on the floor. And it was it's a test. It was a true test of my character and my vibration, and if I could handle the going from a very rewarding experience where I had gotten a job and everything was working out to have to give up the job to come here because I didn't have a choice. And it was kind of like, negative reinforcement is still reinforcement. Just remember that sometimes the divine will be very clear with you. Just because you want something doesn't mean it's going to work out for you. And this place just isn't for me, right? And so I was here, and I was sleeping on the floor, and it took 5 days before they fixed the bed. And in the process, my neighbor, who's really cool, but he plays music really loud, and I'd never get any rest. And so today was the first day I got to sleep in. And so I felt like I was trapped, and so I couldn't get my vibration in the right place. And I knew that it was all in my head, and I could easily walk out of here and just go into the streets and stuff like that. But there was rain coming, so I was kind of stuck. And so I just decided to take back my power. And here's what I did. We have a bathroom. I have a bathroom that is away from the music. And so I literally set up a little pop tent, and I go there whenever the music is like all day long, like yesterday, and I will just stay in that room, and I will just find my peace and quiet, and I will zone out. I will listen to my music very low, and I will just chill out, and I took my power back. And so the most apparent thing was that this place is not where I'm staying. And so though I'm still in transition, I was like, it gave me the opportunity to go into that little corner in the bathroom to just get myself centered again. And sometimes it's just that way for the collective in general. You find yourself in these situations where you just think, I can't get through this. I don't want to get through this. This is not needed. And your vibration just goes, well, this is a challenge, isn't it? What you gonna do about it? And so I was like, okay, well, here's what I'm gonna do about it. I'm gonna go fucking sleep in the bathroom. And I did. And it just made everything so much better. And so that's kind of the update. I've been kind of going through my own personal hell. There's 2 things that I just don't do. I don't do loud music or loud noises for an extended period of time, just because I feel like it's like intrusive into my freedom. And I'm not going to say anything to him because it's like, it's free will and it's a freedom. It's just that it affects me negatively. And so I was very cautious, and I'm watching my words and all that stuff. And I wasn't going to come on here and be like, oh, woe is me, life sucks. No, I'm truly blessed. And I have an attitude of gratitude. So I have shelter. I have a little bit of money in my pocket. I was able to do my laundry, so that's a blessing. I now have a bed. They fixed it 5 days in. There are obviously rooms here that I can transfer to, but they won't do that for me. So it's just further like oppression. So what it made me realize is I'm worth a hell of a lot more than this, and I am on mission. I'm not here just because I can't get my ass out of and get work. I had to work. And so all the signs are just, sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, and you just have to do something ballsy. So this week somehow I'm walking the fuck out of here. and I'm going to go find someplace else to live. I'm considering moving back to New Orleans and stuff like that, but I have to finish the mission, which is I'm going to write an article about the experience here, not about anybody, one person, or anything that's like negative. It's going to be very reaffirming, but it's going to be very direct to the, Los Angeles Public Housing, and be very specific and be like, you did an amazing job with the other place. Why is this so drastically oppressive? And it's not like I'm bringing down anything towards these people. It's just that it needs to have a cohesive managerial style or something. I don't know. But any little voice helps. And there are a lot of people here who are super depressed. Like, the energy here is like super toxic. And I spent like the first 3 days just trying to alchemize energy that wasn't even mine. And so on top of that, then with the music, and then on top of that with sleeping on the floor, and then now I'm sleeping in the bathroom sometimes, it's just like it was too much, right? And so at some point you have to fight for your rights, and so sometimes you have to speak on behalf of other people, and I'm not worried about what they can do to me. It's like I'm not worried about that. I've faced my fears. This is about like finishing the mission. And so I know that I'm at the end. So it's also part of the initiations, like when you're on a spiritual journey, you go through initiations, and there are initiations to your spiritual calling. If you expected it to be easy and something handed to you, it's not going to fucking work out that way, right? And so this was like all of my pet peeves came at me all at once. And I was expecting to have a reward cycle begin. And so I didn't see this coming, and this was like a tower that was really brutal, and it pushed me to the edge of my own sanity because I could not get out of it. And it's not like you can just get up and leave in a situation and just go, where would I go? And so I felt trapped, and that was all the illusion. And so I had to fight through the illusion and get my ass out of that situation. And the bathroom was great. And then I just started laughing because I was like, well, the Divine Feminine did give me my nickname, my pen nickname over on LinkedIn, which is the Butt Queen, but being the one word in the English language that negates everything that came before it, and queen being, well, I'm a queen. And so I thought, well, isn't that appropriate? Where do I find my salvation? In the fucking bathroom, on the ground. And so it got me through the initiation, but it was brutal. It was like just absolutely brutal. And it was because it was the perfect hell for me. And that's why I always tell people with spirituality, it's not like you and I are ever going to have the same tests, because what I think is brutal and like really was like pushing me to the brink of my own sanity would never bother you. And then the things that you go through, like fear of death, I would just look at it and be like, I don't understand what you're afraid of. We can walk right through the middle. There's bombs going on. Okay, walk right through the middle. And so it just depends on perspective and what your soul's about. And so mine just happened to end on this note. And so I literally had to just find my power again in an impossible situation. And I did. And it's unorthodox, I'll give you that. But you see the smile on my face and the attitude of gratitude? That's how you get through this shit. And I just know it's going to work out. But the divine was very clear, obviously, that I made a wrong choice by coming here. I should have gone to the other location, even though they had no private rooms, and I was going to share a bathroom and all that stuff. This was not where I should have gone. And so it was a cost to my decision, and so I face it. But don't get me wrong, like there is a reason why I came here also, which is that if I hadn't have come here, then there probably wouldn't be a voice loud enough that would write it in an article and post it so that people can see what it's like in this particular area. Because there are people there's a lot of wheelchairs here, there are a lot of people who have been shot, and very, very just a tough environment with an oppressive regime on top of it. And I don't think that it's there doing anything suppressive. I think it's just mismanaged. But I have to be careful how I say that, and so I'm trying to find my words. So that's why the article hasn't come out yet, is because there's 2 articles that I'm working on at the same time, but with the music and with with sleeping on the floor and then sleeping in the bath. It's just been very, very toxic. And so now that I'm finally getting my way out of there, I am in a much better place to speak on it, because you have to remember we're in Mercury retrograde too. And so Mercury retrograde is notorious for your words coming back to bite you. And so you can't throw the first gauntlet at somebody, or the first goblet at somebody. You have to stand in your power and just kind of observe it, and then find your strength, and then word it just right. So it's kind of alchemy. And so I just found myself in a situation. So I'm good. We are good. I am great. Today is a glorious day. I, like I said, did my laundry. My emotions are back up, and everything's good to go. I know that I have to get the hell out of Dodge here. I have no idea where I'm going to go. But that's part of the excitement, by the way, is the fact that I am fearless. And so now that was what was bugging me, is I could leave at any time, but I couldn't because it was raining. And so I had my stuff, and I was like, I'm not going in the rain. And so I did, for a moment, get trapped, but it was an illusion. And so now that I got through the illusion, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go anywhere. Like, I was feeling like I'm being pulled in two places. One is Chicago. Never have considered Chicago. And the other one is Georgia. I'm from New Orleans. Falcons? No. But I think, like, I don't know, Savannah came up, and a reading came up recently. And so I'm really open to any place, and I'm very attracted to, for some reason, there's like an energy coming into me that's very Leo, which of course makes sense because it was foretold that the Cancer Queen would probably end up with the Leo. And so I'm very aware of Leo energy coming at me, somebody very strong and very kind of cool, equally as powerful, probably more grounded in the 3D, whereas I'm more in like in the etheric realm, like I very psychic and all that stuff. And so people know by now that I march to my own little drummer here, and that I am usually always successful in my life because I'm not afraid of anything in particular. And I'm willing to go there for the divine. I'm willing to do things that represent the good part of humanity and kind of find people. And now that this whole path is opened up, just so you guys know, I gave a little snippet of what I was going to be working on, which is part of my task is, and I had never realized that it was a gift, was the fact that I have discernment. I have really, really connected psychic discernment where I can hear anybody say anything, and I will be able to pick out exactly what the truth is and what's bullshit. And I can do it in print, I can do it in listening. And so as I was listening to that guy, I don't know if you guys saw the article I wrote where I was referring to the interview with the schizophrenic. And as I was listening to the schizophrenic and he was talking, I was able to pick out exactly what was true and what his backstory was. And I put it all together. And I realized that it was an awakening of my skill set, which is that I can do that for other people. And so during this last little test that I was going through, I literally was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Because it was just like the perfect combination of toxic elements for my personality and for my soul. And so as I was feeling the oppression, I realized that I was on the brink. And when I came out of it, when I got through the fog of the illusion, I could very clearly now see where people get lost along the way. So there's all these people in our world that like disconnect from reality, and it's always just the perfect combination of hell that they get put into, like a rape victim that gets raped not just by anybody but by her father, like stuff like that. And it just disconnects that soul from reality. And because I've been to my own hell this entire time, like you guys know my story, it hasn't been exactly a loving, wonderful experience in my world. But I've always been able to get through it. And so I think the purpose of this little last part was, one, to bring a clear voice of discernment and to discuss what's really going on here, and to put it in a way that doesn't blame anybody, but is proactive. And also it gave me the opportunity to be pushed myself to the brink where I had lost my faith. It was just gone. Because when you have that much oppression for 6 days and you can't get out of it, you begin to buy the bullshit. But I was able to pull through. And so it gave me a perspective where I can see where people would fall through the cracks. And what I can do now is actually go in, listen to their story, find out what is really going on, approach them from that angle, and see if we can bring them home. And sure enough, I started dreaming about stuff like that. And so it opened up some sort of block that I had, this experience. And as toxic as it's been, it made everything worth it. And so I guess what I want to say on that is, just know that I'm still going to be very much involved in that part of the mission, which is one of my skills, is I'm going to discern and talk to people and try to help people that want to be helped in that way, where they have family members or whatnot that they know are still there, but that they can't reach anymore, that they're just so gone, they're just disconnected from reality to such a degree that someone like me, who's been like to the verge of that over and over and over again, but has always been able to pull through, will probably be more likely to reach them, because I'll empathize literally with where they've been. And so it's like a whole new avenue, and I want to do it like on camera, because I have this thing where it's like an attitude of gratitude, and where we speak their name. Because I've noticed that for the shadow side of humanity, we shy away from dealing with topics that are heavy. And so it's like we keep having to repeat those fucking cycles over and over again, because it's like we don't learn and we don't address it, and we just let it kind of go by, like, shh, don't say anything. No, say it. Talk. Say that person's name. That person has literally lost their way because they were exposed to horrible situations that most of us could not survive. And so by looking at those stories and really investing in those stories, we acknowledge their soul, and their soul becomes heard. Every soul on this planet wants to be heard. And so my calling is to hear them, speak their name, share their stories on TV, and get that out into the world so that we can acknowledge them and acknowledge the story and kill that story. We don't have to keep repeating those stories. So rape victims, like if we acknowledge the situation and all of the extremes that go with it, then it starts to make that shadow dissipate, and it starts to make it not needed. And if we can do that, then we start to heal the planet, right? And so that's where my head is at. But they pushed me to the brink of my sanity to get me there. And so now I'm even more dedicated. Like, you have no idea how passionate I am about this situation now, because of how close I came. I really almost got lost here. And I refuse to let other people go through that anymore. And so by acknowledging and speaking their name, and people who have been brutalized or that have passed on, that dealt with these things, by acknowledging their stories, we release their soul. And their soul gets to go to God. Because right now they're in the illusion. They don't know that they're still here. And so there's all of these beautiful, cathartic things that are going to come out of this program. So trust me, it's going to happen. And, you know, I may, like, pull back a little bit on exact details because I'm going to start working on just getting it done. I'm getting a lot of negativity, y'all. Like, I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, there was a lot of negative stuff that was coming towards me, to the point where my guides who don't involve themselves in crap like this, because we don't deal with drama here at, you know, Al. I just don't do it anymore. And so I found out that there's like a group of people within the community that are just talking shit, like a lot of shit. And they're talking they're talking shit about my content and how I don't know who I am, and all of this really toxic, negative stuff. And I was so far removed from it that I hadn't known that it was coming at me. I was kind of like not aware, and they brought it to me. And so I was like, wait, are you fucking kidding me? My guides brought me this? And they're like, it's we just didn't want you to get exposed to it, but we got to fix this. And so here's what I'm going to say on that. And this is not negative. I'm just going to say it very clearly. I don't deal with drama. And here's why. We are on a mission in our planet to help humanity rise to the occasion. We are going through a lot of serious shit, a lot of shadow work that we got to do. And we're being pushed towards a collective unity, a group of people that are rising above the others and are going to help lead us into accountability and all of that stuff. And so the last thing we need is for the leadership of that regime, if you will, to start kind of undermining each other. That's not welcome. And the divine is not happy with it. And so the best thing I can do is just say this. I voluntarily left my life in New Orleans to come and take a chance and walk the walk that it's required to be a leader in a new way. And it involved me letting go of all of my security blankets, all of the people I had back home, walk to LA, become homeless during coronavirus, walk through that path, knowing that I could get a job at any point, but not being allowed to get a job. And have to stay in that situation with no money, nobody helping me out, none of that stuff, and I did it. So who are these people who are behind cameras or talking shit wherever you are about an 8th grade education, who was willing to do all that in the name of God and in the name of what's right and showing what's the breakdowns are going on here? Who are you to come at me when I've never done anything to you? Why don't you do the walk? Why don't you shut up, get your ass out here and do the work? Why aren't you taking phone calls for rape victims? Why are you helping people who've been molested by clergy? Why aren't you doing all of the things that I'm trying to do? So when you say that I am not, that I don't know who I am, maybe you should just stop and realize that I'm having to pivot every 2 fucking seconds to adjust for the fact that the divine doesn't have his soldiers where they need to be. Instead, I'm now being I have to keep going in different directions to keep addressing things. We should have a cohesive group of people all working independent of each other, but working towards the same goal. And it's not like I'm elitist or that I'm being all selfish. I would love to know anybody out here that's willing to work with us and willing to help God and willing to help the community and they're out there, but they're not talking shit. See, that's the big difference. And the fact that it's now affecting the ethers and my guides of all the fucking energy in the world. God-appointed guides that were assigned to me directly because of my mission. I'm a solo train passenger. I don't get the luxury that all of you get of some of the perks. I'm doing the hard stuff. So don't worry about me. I know who I am. You don't know who I am. And that means that you're not paying attention. That's not my fucking problem. So don't bring me your big bag of bullshit. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to hand it back to you, who's watching, and go, here. You want to talk about the kid who only made it to 8th grade? Was enslaved to a cult? That lost his mom by the time he was 25? No family? Doing God's work? You want to talk about me? Go right ahead. But stop fucking with the ethers and stop bringing it to me, because I don't care. It will not change the course of my life. You see what I'm saying? And that is the last time I'm going to address something so petty. It's just petty. My name is Al Arabella. You may not like me because I come across as a goody two-shoes. I'm not. I'm just someone who's been to hell a couple of times. And I'm walking out of it with my backpack and happy. And I'm doing it on my terms. I'm not asking you to do anything other than maybe step up and do the job that we need you to do. But don't worry about me. I got me. We good. See? So that's it for me. That's the whole update. I know it's kind of a little bit like a negative tone there, but at some point you have to address it to make it stop, because you cannot bring the right attention to a situation if you just keep it all the time to yourself. I'm good. It does not affect me. But I will say that I was noticing to wrap this up, I didn't realize it was going to be this long of a talk. There are a lot of people who are going through a lot of shit right now. They're losing their jobs, they're losing their homes, they don't know where they're going to go. And the last thing that they need is gossip from other queens or other bullshit people around them who is making it even harder, because you're adding more negative energy to an already negative situation. And these souls are on the verge where a suicide would be just like that. And what are you going to claim? Oh, well, I didn't know it was that bad. Really? Because most people who are drowning will scream and try to ask for help. Because you can't see it just means that you are that disconnected, and you're talking shit about people who are doing their best. I'm not suicidal, please. Trust me. This does not bother me in that way. I'm just saying, though, that I'm watching people who are very close. I'm surrounded by this type of situation where people are barely hanging on. And the fact that I'm actually having to address all of this negative energy that's coming from a few people that are just trying to stir shit. And I'm just like, why? We're not in high school. And if we were in high school, let me just put it to you this way. You wouldn't fuck with me because I would destroy you. Because I was very petty back in those days. But I'm not that person anymore. And karmically, it's just creating static. And we don't need more static. We need more love. We need more help. We need more camaraderie. We need more the good stuff. You know? Because all of this came to me when I was on the verge myself. So it's not like I don't understand what I'm talking about. But I'm not pushing that karmically back on you. I'm just saying that this is not the time to be petty. This is the time to be brothers and sisters and step up for each other and help each other, because there are people that are losing this battle left and right. And if you're not part of the solution, you're not working for God. Okay? Okay. That's it for me. You guys have a wonderful day. I'm going to go get a soda, and then I'm going to come back and put my earpad or my little things on and disappear. I'll see you guys later. I'll let you guys know where I end up next week. I'm going to just take a chance and see that an opportunity will present itself. Something tells me that in the first week of February, something will happen where I will clearly know that's what the path I'm going to go on. I'm really attracted to one energy. I'm just going to try to follow that one person, try to narrow that down. And I know that there's a lot of great, creative, wonderful, rewarding experiences around the corner for all of us, and we're going to show it, and we're going to put it right out there, and we're going to rejoice, and we're going to have faith come back as what it needs to be, which is a beacon of light, and that's what we're doing here. Later, guys. Bye.